Hello, everyone. Welcome. Sorry, we just have a sound issue over here, but welcome to our live webinar, The Range. Home on the Range, maybe you're in the office, so office on the range, but we are here celebrating with you. And as you can see, hopefully, we have some chocolate-covered raisins. I think, Duncan, you have to talk for the camera.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm busily eating these raisins.
And Duncan will be the only one enjoying them today, unfortunately, because I'm a vegan, so I don't get the pleasure of enjoying chocolate-covered raisins. But hopefully you have yours and you can join us today. I will be your co-host along with Duncan Beaumont.
Thank you, Bailey. Those chocolate-covered raisins are pretty good, actually. I've had them for a while. Thank you very much for joining, everyone. Today, as Bailey opened up, we are going to discuss the range. When we talk about the range, we talk about the range of possibilities and solutions for fume capture. Sometimes, in fact, the biggest question we get is, where do I start? I have a welding shop, I'm in a welding facility environment. Where do I start? And it's a great question. And we should always start with source capture in mind, capture the fume at the source. But then you go, okay, I've got all these source capture options. Where do I start? So, that's what we want to talk about today, and essentially take you through some of the solutions.
Yeah, so obviously one size doesn't fit all in this scenario either. So I'm going to pose a shop environment for you. I have a shop. It's a standard steel manufacturer shop. I have 10 welders. We're doing 2 shifts. I'm burning 1/16 flux core wire, and I'm building bridges and structures. So what would be the best solution for me?
Okay, yeah, that's a good scenario. Are you a flexible or a fixed environment?
We're flexible. We have constantly changing projects that come in and out of our shop, so it needs to remain flexible.
Okay, good. So we know how many welders, how many shifts, what you're burning, what you're doing, and we know that you need to remain flexible. So again, as I said at the beginning, we always want to approach the solution with, can I capture the fume at source? So source capture. In this scenario, yes, it looks like we can. I would recommend a fume gun. So I would say, let's capture this fume at the source with a fume gun, where we remove the fume through the gun as we weld. Mm-hmm. Then you're going to say, okay, how do we capture that fume? What do we connect it to? You mentioned you were a flexible shop, so let's go with a portable solution. So with that, we've got the fume gun, we've got a single gun solution, or we could do a dual gun solution, meaning we can connect 2 guns to 1 vacuum unit and still remain flexible through the shop. With this solution for scenario 1, it means that we can capture all those filthy particulates, whether it's manganese or hexavalent chromium, directly at the source. The welder can remain flexible. He has a gun that's welding, and he's also removing the fume at the same time. And if the shop changes size or area or type of project for the bridge that's being built, you can move it around the shop. It's no big deal.
That's perfect. That's exactly what we need. Okay. But my brother's shop is a little different. My brother works with a stainless steel welding shop.
Okay.
He has 20 welders, which is more than I have, and he's only doing 1 shift. He's burning 0.45 solid core wire and building pressure vessels.
Interesting. Yeah. So we have a few different dynamics here. It's a good example. For this, I'm imagining, because you're a pressure vessel shop, that you don't change much.
No. We're pretty fixed in how we operate and
right.
Standard procedures, standard projects.
Sure. So you have a fixed setup. You have a plant that's welding pressure vessels. You're probably in there a long time being built. And I see here an example picture on the slide, which I'm very familiar with, because they're welding inside the pressure vessel and outside. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very smoky. And you mentioned stainless steel. So for this, I would also recommend for sure a fume gun. So, again, let's capture as much of that particulate at the source whilst remaining flexible in the welding aspect. But when we come to the system, as far as the vacuum of how we capture, I recommend a fixed unit.
Okay.
The reason being, 20 welders is a lot. Instead of having 20 machines hanging around or 10 doubles.
Right, that would crowd up at the shop. We can't have
especially
that.
with huge vessels coming in and out, you want as much space flexibility as possible.
Mm-hmm.
One of these CW3 systems could actually sit outside. It could be housed in a outbuilding, or if you've got the space, inside. And then we just pipe the necessary drops to each welder. Mm-hmm. So in the vicinity of where the vessel is being welded. And usually the vessels may vary in length, but then you have a drop every 20 feet or whatever it is. And you hook your fume extraction gun. Again, we want to capture those particulates. The stainless steel hexavalent chromium.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good for you. And especially when they're doing welding inside enclosed spaces.
Yeah, everything gets so smoky inside there, and yeah. I'm worried about the welders. Yeah. So these guns can come into those.
Absolutely, yeah. And with the latest and greatest 8xe fume extractor gun, we can capture up to 98% of that particulate. Mm. So think of being inside an enclosed space, think of being in a building, keeping the welder protected as well as everyone else around him.
Yeah, that's perfect. And now my grandfather, he has a multi-purpose, MIG, TIG, stick welding facility. He does it all. He only has 6 welders doing one shift. He's burning 035 MIG. He's doing stainless and aluminum TIG welding, stick welding, and grinding. Like, this is a crazy setup here. And he's building food equipment.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So this is where we have multiple scenarios of different types and procedures. So could we offer a fume extractor gun for this? Sure, we can. If you want to invest in multiple equipment solutions, mm-hmm. but then it gets expensive. It gets a little bit, what do I use right now? How do I reset this up? I could invest in a fume gun for MIG, invest in a TIG fume extractor gun, mm-hmm. and something else for the grinding and the aluminum and the stick. Mm-hmm. But if you want to be very efficient and you want to be flexible around that food equipment that's being built, and you want to essentially cover off all the procedures, for this scenario, I recommend the fume arm. So we have multiple fume arm options. Mm-hmm. We have the portable, small. We have a large portable with 1 or 2 arms. Or we can go with a wall-mounted fixed system along the side of the weld shop, or ceiling mount. So this way we have an array of abilities to capture MIG, TIG, stick, aluminum, stainless, stainless steel welding procedures, all with one piece of equipment. The fume arm, of course, is source capture. The biggest thing about the fume arm is we need to be within 12 to 18 inches of the weld. Okay. So we do need to bear this in mind in regards to how we design the solution. Is it flexible? Is it portable? Is it fixed? Can I bring that arm within the vicinity of what I'm welding right now, which could be TIG, or MIG could be a bigger structure. We need to think about all of that. But this solution here, array of fume arm solutions, is probably the best for this scenario.
Yeah, I think my grandfather would be super happy, especially right now. They're pretty flexible with what they are bringing in and the projects they're doing. So having it portable like that, I think, is an amazing solution. Yeah. And then when he does expand and get bigger, he can invest in these more stationed and what's the word where it stays in place.
Yeah, like fixed.
Yeah, it's a fixed system.
Arm system. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's wonderful that there's so many options out there.
Sure. Yeah. No, with that, so they were 3 great scenarios, and maybe, as I want to mention to the viewers on the call here, there's probably going to be some questions. Maybe you're in a scenario in your shop that resonates with something we just talked about. Maybe you have something totally different and you want to ask some questions. Please go ahead and be free to ask questions on the chat. We will take those questions. We'll answer them at the end. But here we just covered off the range of possible source capture solutions from, something that's capturing it at the source through the gun. We've got a option to have that capture through the gun either portable, very mobile, or we have the option to capture it through the gun in a fixed system, so a much larger system, maybe 20 plus welders. We have the option to capture it, whether it's MIG through the gun or TIG through the gun, portable fixed, fume arm, portable fixed. So yeah, that covers off the range of possible source capture solutions. And at this point, I think that now leads us into some news updates.
So keep leaving your questions in the chat, and as we go through our news, this is our time to celebrate International Achievement Day, like I mentioned before. So we are going to share some achievements that have come through Translas. And one thing, some of you may be wondering, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here, maybe it's a question you're thinking of, but how can we, being located in Ontario, help you if you're in a different province? And that's a really good question, and I think this will answer it for you. We now have distributors across Canada, and we're so excited. Alberta, Quebec, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and the Maritimes, they're all covered by a distributor, and we're really excited. But Duncan, I see that there are two red tags there.
Yes. So we are seeking a distributor in British Columbia. I don't know if there's anyone on the call that's in the distribution world or knows anybody, but we are seeking a distributor in British Columbia as we speak. And also the second red tag is for the USA. We have expanded into the USA this year, and we are working actively currently with a couple of distributors that are close to being officially distributors. However, we have a lot of opportunity in the US to open up additional distributors. So watch this space. We are going for it. And if wherever you're located in the US currently, if you have a project, reach out to us. We'll look after you.
So shout out to all the people out there who could be a potential distributor with us or know someone. Yeah, just putting that tag in there again. But speaking of the US, we are planning, obviously pandemic dependent, of going to the FabTech Expo. And this is going to be held in September, the 13th through 16th. And our booth, in case you are also as positive as we are about the whole situation, is going to be B383. That's also written here on the PowerPoint. But we really are excited. We're excited at the prospect of being there to meet you and so many others, as well as learn more about the industry and industry developments. But before this, there is some exciting news. Before this September date, 2020 hasn't stopped us. We haven't hit a block. We are globally launching 3 new products this year, and one of them being released this summer, robotic fume extraction. Duncan, can you say anything about the robotic extraction?
No. No, that is true. We are launching robotic extraction in the summer sometime, but it's a bit of a big surprise still. So it's a huge topic. It's a huge arena to enter. However, I would just say stand by, make sure you're following us, because this is a huge breakthrough. And yeah, that's as much as I'm going to say. The other 2 products that we're going to launch are going to be in Q3 of this year. And that's our goal. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. Like, we're still innovating. We're still launching products globally to the industry that are needed, that are much required. And yeah, just stand by. Make sure you're following us, because we will be announcing it.
So, like Duncan just said, you're going to have to follow us to stay updated and get these industry secrets that we have. You can see the handles here at the top. Follow us on any of these platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a YouTube channel and LinkedIn. We're very excited. So please contact us. I can't drive this home anymore, and stay in the loop.
So, excuse me, I keep eating these chocolates. Pretty good.
Thanks for enjoying them for me. Next time we'll have to get some vegan ones.
Yeah. So, as we've gone through this webinar, we've had a number of questions come in. And I would like to go to that next. Bailey, perhaps you could
That's my job? Okay, that's my job. Can you clean inside and the floor area around our work area? Oh, sorry, I should read the top one first. That gives the context. Can you use the same vacuum to clean up inside the tank and clean the floors around the area on the central system?
That's a good question. Yes, you can. So if you're on like the central vacuum system, which is the CW3 we mentioned earlier, the large fixed system, the answer to that is yes. Actually, you can do more than that too. For our solutions that we have, we can do make extraction on that central vac. We can do TIG extraction, and the word that we use is housekeeping, house cleaning. So what Paul has asked here is about the cleaning the floors around the area of the weld dust and the particulate that's dropped on the floor. Yeah, we can. We can do all three in one system.
All right. So something that we have witnessed as we've done some of our traveling is captured here in this question. Someone's asking if fume guns capture up, if your fume guns capture up to 98%, then why do we see welders in the industry using a fume gun and a PAPR welding helmet at the same time? That's a really good question.
It is a very good question, actually, and I get this a lot. So why do we see some welders using fume guns and PAPRs together? The short answer to that is you won't typically see that with a Translas solution because we capture 98%. However, most of our competitors can't capture that much. So it's a bit sad because there are some good products out there, but what happens is it can only capture so much, maybe 60%, 65%. And that's, as good as that is, it's better than nothing. It means the remaining 45% that needs to be captured is still out there, and it doesn't really protect the welder enough.
Okay. Good question. Thank you. I am an industrial hygienist. I'm curious, do your fume guns capture the required amount of manganese in regular steel welding or hexavalent chromium in stainless steel welding?
That's a very good question. Yes, the answer is for us, yes, it does. We have had studies done, third party, which we can share with anyone that needs it. We know from the schooling and training that we've received through ACGIH and OSHA, manganese, let me talk about manganese first, equates to a maximum of 10% of total particulate. So with the capture of 98% of total particulate, we have proven to meet or exceed the manganese reduction required through smoke capture. We have a project, we had two independent projects, one in Nova Scotia and one in Manitoba, where their manganese levels have dropped by OSHA ACGIH. They've reduced them down to 0.02 milligrams per cubic meter, for example, of allowable manganese content in the air, in the breathing zone. And our fume gun will capture that required amount of manganese from the total particulate. Same with the hexavalent chromium. We know that hexavalent chromium is extremely dangerous. It's, I think, 7 times more harmful than manganese. So it's obviously a lot more important that we capture hexavalent chromium, and our fume gun will do that again.
Perfect. Thank you. I am a TIG welder, but I don't see any fumes when I'm welding. Why do I need to extract when I'm welding then?
Well, that's a good question. That is true. When you're TIG welding, you do not see fume, or very little. So it's like, why do you need to extract? The number one reason we launched a 8TE TIG extractor fume gun was for the stainless steel weld. So if you're welding stainless steel with TIG or aluminum, as just mentioned, it's much more harmful, the particulate. And what we're trying to do is eliminate that particulate. So you might not be able to see it. You might not be able to physically see it like when you walk into a big shop of MIG welding, but it's still harmful. And anyone we have a number of customers, like I was at one recently where they were building stainless steel food equipment, and they've got 15 TIG welders in a row. And, you know, you walk in there and it's relatively clean, but it's like every time they do air testing by the Ministry of Labour or Environment, they never meet or exceed their requirements because they're always over. That actual particulate is still in their breathing zone and it hasn't been eliminated. So it needs to be eliminated. That's why we launched the first fume extractor TIG gun.
For those of you who missed it, we launched the TIG gun just this year, so it's very exciting, very revolutionary. But to answer your question, Duncan answered your question very well. That is why, even though you don't see the fumes, it's still important to extract those particulates. Okay, another question. If I use a double gun vacuum unit, can I maintain the correct airflow for each welder when I have 2 guns attached?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have this a lot, and I think I know why, because a lot of units don't do that like they should. To answer the question, yes. We've got a very well-designed double gun unit, W200. It doesn't matter whether you plug 1 gun or 2 guns. We will give you the same amount of correct required airflow for your guns. That goes for MIG and TIG. So the way we do that is the vacuum unit looks pretty simple, but it does have a built-in VFD. It has a built-in PLC computer. We are able to balance the required airflow for 1 or 2 guns. We're able to knock it back if we're only running 1 gun, balance it with 2 guns, and still have plenty of room to move depending on the application.
Wonderful. Thank you for your question. Next question. How long can I run the vacuum hose to each welder?
Okay, how much hose, I think that means. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that's a good question. We get that a lot too. So yeah, for each welder, we have an allowance of up to 60 feet or 20 meters per welder. So if you have we showed you earlier, the W100 single gun system, we can run a hose on there up to 60 feet long and still attach your fume gun after that, which could be anywhere from 10 feet to 20 feet. So we've got a lot of flexibility there. And the same goes for the double gun. It's no different, just like I mentioned in the last question, answering that. We have that an allowance of up to 60 feet per welder, whether it's a double gun or a single gun.
Perfect. And one of our last ones, I am from the US. Is it possible to arrange a demo of your equipment in use?
Oh, that's a good question. It's a challenging one right now because of the pandemic that's upon us and travel restrictions, etc. However, we've come up with a way of doing a virtual demo. So absolutely, the first thing we should do is reach out to us, connect with us, and we will set up a virtual demonstration experience for you from our shop here in Ontario, we will be glad to do that. It takes about an hour, hour and a half of time, but I think be well worth it as a first start. We all know that the real deal is to have the equipment, touch, feel, try it in your shop with your welders. And as soon as we can do that, we will. So if you're from the US right now, connect with us. We'll set up a virtual demo with you. And then when we're able, we'll do a physical demo. If you're from Canada, depending on what province you're in and where you're located and the restrictions, same thing. We can start off with a virtual if you're interested. And then if it's possible, we can do a physical demo. We've been doing a few in the last few weeks as it's opened up a lot more. So yeah, it's a good question.
Good question. And last one, can your extraction guns attach to any welder? Yeah,
good question. Yes, the answer is yes. So we have two types of connections. One of the guns is universal. So we have adapter pins. So whether you're connecting to a Miller or a Lincoln, like a Hobart, we can connect, no problem. If you're connecting to a Fronius or a Euro style backend, we have the Euro backend connectors as well. So it doesn't matter what welding equipment you have, ESAB, Fronius, Lincoln, Miller, we can connect our guns to them.
Wonderful. Well, that's the end of our questions. If there's any last minute ones, feel free to send them in now before we end. But again, thank you for joining us. I'd like to drive home again. If you'd like to know more about what we will be releasing this year, you're going to need to follow us. So there again are our handles. Feel free to connect with us on whatever platform you use.
Yeah, thank you very much everyone for joining, and keep in touch. Stay safe.